I just feel like I've been around the block, ripping up fantasy stock, working around the clock. Look at the view from the top. Researching rookies a lot? No, I just be listening to pods. Yeah, one in particular, I'm just a messenger. Let me just pass on the rock. Browning, brunning, pruning, pronouncing ain't what he's doing. What he's doing is not losing, but infusing you with new things. And there's Dennis the Bennett, yeah. The man is a menace, yeah. Building a dynasty, some of the finest things. Promise you won't regret it. Sly as a fox, cultured in pop. Give him his props. Here is a thought, here is a box, and you cannot compare them at all. So don't even try. Careful with the news, but when you use a take, I take up Tony Fire. I mean Dyer, because anyone else is a huge mistake. Whoa, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, yeah. Fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Hey, fantasy round table, fantasy round table, woo. Fantasy round table. Come take a look at the crown, baby. Go.
What is going on, everybody? It is Friday. We have got one game behind us, or one game in the book here for Week 11, and the rest of the Week 11 slate in front of us. Dennis is here with me. Matt is off today. Dennis, how you doing on this beautiful Friday?
Man, I had the day off.
Very
It's
nice.
always a good day when you're off of work. Just been relaxing, hanging out. The wife's been busy, so I didn't have a honey-do list to speak of. Working on some Cub Scout stuff for my kids, and so I'm having a pretty awesome day.
That is nice. That's what I'm looking forward to next week. 3-day work week. I'll be off at I think 10 o'clock Wednesday, and then off Thursday, Friday. I cannot get here. Cannot get here quick enough. And then actually have 3 decent football games on Thursday as well, I think. At least the last game will be. I know for sure in Pittsburgh and Baltimore. We'll see about Washington, Dallas, and I don't even remember who's playing the Lions now at this point. But that is besides the point. Last night we had a decent game. At least, we looked a little bit shaky there for the first couple quarters, but it ended up being a good game here. Seattle winning 28-21. Murray, 20 points. Drake, 16. Chase Edmonds, 14. Larry Fitzgerald, 14. DeAndre Hopkins, 10. Christian Kirk, 9. And, of course, everybody's favorite receiving option here on the Cardinals, Dan Arnold, 7 points. Both backs were up big here, as did veteran Larry Fitzgerald. What do you think of the Cardinals moving forward, and do you think they are a serious contender?
I think they're as serious, I suppose, as anybody could be. That's a tough division out there, and I like what the Cardinals are going to go as far as Kyler Murray can carry them. They've got DeAndre Hopkins, and well, he didn't have, from a fantasy standpoint, a great game. He did everything that was needed for them. It's I think the game did not meet expectations. Nobody blew up. I think, we've seen Kyler put up 40 or 50. We've seen Russ put up huge games, DK and Lockett and DeAndre Hopkins. So we've seen some gigantic games come out of the players on both sides of the ball here. And we didn't get it yesterday. I think honestly, the only real blow up that happened yesterday was on the defensive side of the ball. And it probably occurred on most people's benches because Isaiah Simmons has been disappointing so far. And in IDP 1, 2, 3 scoring, I don't know what the tally was, but he had 10 tackles, 12 tackles, and a sack. So he was the one that exploded. But, we don't talk a whole lot of IDP here.
No, we do not. Maybe we should have expected it, though. I know that they'd come out earlier in the week, said it was finally time to kind of take the training wheels off and get him more involved. So it was good to see him blow up. He's kind of been, for a guy who was as highly touted as he was coming into the draft last year, it's been kind of weird to see him so quiet here. So you are welcome. By the way, thank you for blowing up my notifications this morning as well. I'm sorry, I don't remember what your name was, but she posted a tweet, I think to Dynasty Nerds, asking for help about it. And oh my God, I saw all these dudes posting their stuff and kind of sending things. I was like, oh, I'll post a bunch of the women in the industry that we follow, that we've had some of them on our show and everything. And my God, I went to like go do some stuff and came back to like 60 notifications, and I was like, all right, people, like, let's calm down.
Mute chat.
Yeah, I was just like, geez, Louise, holy crap. So yeah, but anyways, yes, you're welcome. I'm glad that I saw another tweet you sent earlier about some stuff that was going on for you. So congratulations and welcome to fantasy football. It's
For sure.
It's a lot of fun. A horrible year to pick to start playing fantasy football, but I promise it gets better. It's been a bad year. On Seattle's
I
side
beg
here.
to differ. I think, fantasy football is like cake. Some is great, and the rest is just merely good. Fantasy football, some seasons are great, and the rest are just merely good.
I'll agree with you there. So for Seattle's side, Russell Wilson, 20 points, Hyde, 17, Lockett, 21, and Metcalf, 13 points in this one. Greg Olsen is out for the year. The Seahawks definitely looked better, though, on both sides of the ball. Do you think that they are finally starting to get it right, especially on the defensive side?
I don't know. I think their defense is always going to be suspect. It did look like Carlos Dunlap slid right into their lineup and played really, really well. Jamal Adams is playing well, and it's good to have him back. I know there was a lot of stuff going on last week after it looked like maybe he didn't put in a great effort at the goal line making a tackle. Yeah. I guess in real time, I think if you looked at it, he was engaged with another player, and maybe you can slow things down, and they may not look as good or as clear as it may seem when you're going full speed. I think the Seattle's going to have to outscore people. Yeah. In their defense, it's going to have to be a situation like we talked about Dallas early in the season. They're going to have to put up points, and their defense is going to have to make timely plays. Losing Dak, shot Dallas in the foot. They're not going anywhere. But Seattle is going to be that same way, I think. I think for the most part, Arizona is going to be in that same boat. They're going to have to put up points, and their defense is going to have to make timely plays.
Yeah, I mean, it was good to see Wilson bounce back a little bit. I don't want to say bad games, but they weren't great. They made you start to wonder if we were seeing the Russell Wilson of old when he was only getting you like this 9, 10, 11 points. Obviously bounces back here. Could have had an even bigger game. DK had that drop touchdown that hit him right in the face. So could have had even more points for DK as well, who had a better game than I thought he was going to. The last couple of times he's gone up against Patrick Peterson, he's kind of gotten shut down. And again, he could have had the touchdown. He had that it was like a 40 or 50-yard pass play called back on holding as well. So, I mean, he could have had a much bigger day overall. It was cool. Being a Buckeye and all, it was nice to see Hyde kind of back out there and doing what he does. We always talk about how he was like 1,000-yard back last year for the Texans, and dude can't seem to get into a starting lineup. So,
the running back position is such in the NFL now that you need guys like Carlos Hyde.
Yeah.
And you need somebody that he's not at Adrian Peterson level. He's still more dynamic than Adrian Peterson is at this point in Peterson's career. But you need that guy that is a professional, that if something happens, you can just slot him in and he's going to go out. He may not go 20 for 150, but he'll go 20 for 85 or 90 and get you that tough touchdown, catch a couple passes if you need it. Hyde he's a professional and he's a journeyman. Yeah. I don't know that he's going to play for 5 or 6 more years. He's not going the way of Frank Gore or Adrian Peterson, but he's still got 2 or 3 good years left in him of being, he can be that bridge guy for some teams. He could be that guy that is your second stringer that you can slot in there and in a pinch for 3 or 4 games. He's going to be serviceable, get you 80 yards and a touchdown. He's not going to hurt you.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump in and start previewing these games. We're going to kick it off with the 3-6 Falcons at the 7-2 Saints. For Atlanta, we've got Matt Ryan coming in at 9, Gurley 16, Julio at 3, and Hayden Hurst at 7. There's a lot of talk about Calvin Ridley. Will he or won't he play? I did not rank him this week because I kind of think they're going to hold him out one more week. It doesn't seem like he's going to play. Dennis, if he does play, do you feel comfortable starting him? And if he doesn't, who's the wide receiver or possibly tight end in Hayden Hurst that you would lean to having the big day?
Well, As of 2:15 this afternoon, Justin Fielder reported that Ridley will play this week.
Okay.
I think I don't know that he's going to go the way of some of those Julio Jones decoy games we've seen in the past. He may have his snaps limited, in which case I don't know that you can necessarily count on Blake or Gage or Oz on a regular basis. I think you play him as desperation plays. But if Ridley plays, Hurst is on the upswing. He's been getting a lot more attention from Matt Ryan. I think he's probably comfortably now the third option after Jones and Ridley.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I've been hating on Hayden Hurst all earlier in the season because he's just been underperforming from what I thought. And I believe he's sitting right at like wide receiver 7 right now. So tight end 7. So he's actually having a much better year than I want to give him credit for. It's just not not quite the year that Austin Hooper had, but I don't think any of us expected that either, him going over there. But I think more the touchdowns is what's kind of lacking. I think giving him the fantasy points. He's getting catches and yards, but he's not really getting those touchdowns. That's really kind of helping you win weeks, I guess, at that tight end position.
Yeah, he isn't going to break you, but he also isn't going to be a difference maker, at least at this point. I think, too, it's going to take a season for him to get settled in, really, develop the chemistry with Ryan. I don't think anybody really expected him to have a season like Austin Hooper had last year.
Yeah.
I think Hooper's having the season that most people expected him to have, if they were paying attention anyways. But I think Hurst is going to be fine going forward.
All right. So, Saints. Now, I don't know which this is here, so you're going to have to let me know, because Matt Fox, obviously biggest Taysom Hill believer. I would think like him and his dad have weekly talks about how great Taysom Hill is as much as he loves the guy. So this is either Taysom Matthew Fox Hill or Taysom motherfucking Hill. I'm not sure which one, but we got Taysom MF Hill here on the sheet. Apparently is going to be the starter. We've got Kamara coming in at 2, Thomas at 8, and Cook at 15. With Hill possibly starting, what are you expecting from Jameis? And at this point, what do you think his long-term value is?
Jameis or Taysom?
Jameis first. Let's start Jameis, then we can work our way to whatever is going to happen with my goodness, I was going to call him Jason Hill. Taysom Hill. Uh-oh. Did you freeze up on me? It looks like it. All right, I will kick it off until Dennis gets back here. So for me, I would honestly drop Thomas and Cook in my rankings some. I'm not sure what we're going to get out of Taysom Hill. We've seen him, I believe, I don't know up until this point because I don't have his stats up in front of me, but something I know Dennis references quite often is he's thrown like a whopping 15 passes in his career, I think, up until this point. So I'm not sure that that's really going to help out a guy like Michael Thomas, which kind of sucks. Obviously, we've been hoping and waiting for him to bounce back. Me and Matt brought up just a couple weeks ago how it's kind of at that point in the season where you have to kind of stop looking at the names on the back of the jerseys and just go based on the stats. And Thomas is not giving you the stats. So adding Taysom Hill in there as well as his quarterback really kind of makes me drop Thomas in my rankings, and honestly Cook as well. What are your thoughts on what's going on with New Orleans, Dennis? Oh, no, you froze again. Oh, man. You were working there for a second. All right. See if we can possibly get him back. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else we can talk about on there. I really can't believe that they're not going to start Jameis Winston. I did see a tweet that came out later in the day that Sean Payton said he's refusing to name a starter. So I'm wondering if maybe that was just some kind of, I don't know the wording behind it, but maybe some kind of thing of just getting Taysom Hill some time out there. But I still think Jameis Winston's going to get some love. Looks like you're back now. What are your thoughts?
Let's see what happens. I don't know what's happening. It's showing me with full power here. So Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston. I had Jameis ranked at QB 13 going into this week, and I'm not moving him down. So our good friend Scott Connor, Charles Chill, over on Twitter, So Jameis, his career versus Atlanta, 25 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 2,499 yards, a 109.1 QB rating. To quote Scott, I smell some shenanigans. So
yeah.
And on top of all of that, Taysom Hill's a fucking terrible quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, let's not beat around the bush here. The dude is not a good. He doesn't throw the ball well. He just doesn't. If they're gonna run the wing tee, Taysom Hill is your guy. But if you're slotting Taysom Hill in somewhere, hoping you're gonna get 20 points out of him in your tight end spot or your quarterback spot or something, man, it could be a roller coaster for you. So I admittedly am biased in the complete opposite direction of the fabulous Mr. Fox. But I do not expect Taysom Hill to be a league winner this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. And what I was saying right there, I don't know if you caught it right before you came back, is that then there was a tweet that came out a little bit after all that news about Taysom Hill being the starter, that Sean Payton came out and said he's not announcing who's starting. So I wonder if, not necessarily walking it back, but I'm wondering if maybe we're going to see more of Jameis than maybe whatever was said beforehand that led them to think we're not seeing Jameis Winston at all. Regardless of who is out there starting, are you taking the Saints or are you going to pick the Falcons?
I am taking the Saints.
As am I for now, but if I really find out that Taysom Hill's starting, I might lean and take the Falcons. They've definitely looked better the past couple weeks.
And Matt took the Saints as well.
Oh, yeah. I forgot. I got to mention what Fox did here. The 2-6-1 Bengals at the 2-7 Washington football team. We got Burrow coming in at 12, Bernard at 27, Boyd at 13, and Higgins at 16. Again, no Mixon this week. He did not practice today. I don't know if they've officially ruled him out, but he's not practiced all week. He's not playing.
They have ruled him out. At some point, I mean, why are they not putting him on IR?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious of why they didn't put him on IR to begin with. He's now been out for 4 games. Like, I don't know why they didn't just put him on IR. Maybe they didn't think it was as serious as it was, and it just kept getting worse. I don't know, but maybe
Gio Bernard has just been so much better than they expected, and they're like, "Hey,
no, last week he wasn't.
Maybe we don't want to get too high a draft pick."
Yeah, I don't know. Last week Bernard wasn't. I wish he'd have been better. Let's see. Without Mixon being here again, tough defense to run on. What are you expecting out of this game here against Washington? Oh, you froze up again. All right. So for me, I think obviously I'm honestly not expecting much against for Cincinnati here at all. To be honest with you guys, Washington has that good front, good linebacker core, and they actually have one of the best pass defenses in the league. They were number 1 going into the weekend last weekend. I would imagine they didn't get much worse because they did not give up much in the air. So Burrow still is going to have to throw the ball a ton in this one this week because I do think they're still trying to win games. I trust Higgins and I trust Boyd. A little bit. Higgins more than anybody else, if I'm being honest, on that team. Him and Burrow just have that connection. So I'm definitely playing Higgins, but I'm honestly not expecting a lot of points in this one. As good as Burrow's been, this is not a good defense or an easy defense to put points up against. So Higgins for me is a for sure play. I'm kind of fading Bernard, Burrow, and really Boyd if I can. I don't want them in my lineups against this Washington defense. What are your thoughts on Cincinnati here?
Well, Washington has a really good pass rush, and they're coming in. They're going to be coming in hot. So I think that bodes well for Tyler Boyd. I think Boyd has shown himself to be worthy of a top 24 play each week. You're not really going to sit Boyd. Higgins has come on and is. I agree with you. Him and Burrow have developed a chemistry. But that being said, we've seen Gio perform, and it could be, it could be one of those weeks because if he can get past the defensive line, then he's going to have some room to operate. But the Bengals' offensive line seems like it's starting to get healthier, and if they play well, they continue to improve. That could bode well for Burrow. they're not going to be in a shootout, I don't think. Not with Washington, with Alex Smith. I would expect that Rivera is going to try to make sure that he plays conservatively. I don't know that the 390-yard week is going to be the norm for Alex Smith.
Yeah.
So I think they'll try to use Gibson and McKissick.
Oh, I don't know what's going on. I wonder if maybe it's my connection that's causing issues here. So on Washington side for me here, I will we got Gibson at 13, McKissick at 17, McLaurin at 5. Washington has definitely kind of been finding their groove here, as Dennis was just talking about with what they're doing. Alex Smith has actually been really good as well the past couple weeks, with him kind of coming on, especially with McKissick, man. Those two have had developed really nice chemistry, him dumping it off to him a lot. He's a guy that I think is trending upward, same as Gibson. And then McLaurin is McLaurin. You're not sitting McLaurin. Outside of those three, though, I don't think there's anybody you're even looking at. Maybe one more week from Logan Thomas, and I'll start to move him up toward a tight end that I'm trusting. He has had 2 good weeks here with Alex Smith at quarterback. So if you need him, maybe he's kind of a desperation throw in at tight end for me, but I'm not necessarily trusting him if I don't have to. But Gibson, McKissick, and McLaurin are definitely in for me. I am going to go ahead and take the Washington football team to win this game. I'm thinking they can pull the win off here against Cincinnati. Both Dennis and Matt Fox are taking it as well. Dennis will be back in just a minute. He's having a couple issues, so we're going to keep on rolling to my Cleveland Browns, 6-3 against the 3-5-1 Philadelphia Eagles. We got the Eagles coming in here. Wentz at 16, Sanders at 6, Travis Fulgham at 37, Jalen Reagor at 43, and Dallas Goedert at 9. Browns defense we've seen can be kind of a get-right defense. Do we think that they can be a get-right game here for the Eagles? I don't. Well, I do, actually. I was going to say I don't, but then we found out the news this morning that Myles Garrett unfortunately tested positive for COVID, so obviously well wishes to him, hoping that he is going to be okay. Haven't heard if he's experiencing any symptoms or anything. One of the best players in the league. He'll be out this week. That only helps Carson Wentz and that beat-up offensive line for the Eagles, not having the defensive player of the year, in my opinion, storming down on you every single play. The Browns have a bad secondary. We'll see. I heard there's a chance that there might be bad weather here again for Cleveland, which is obviously not good for either offense. We've kind of seen the way it's gone the past couple weeks in the Raiders game versus the Browns and then the Texans game as well, that there wasn't really a whole lot of offense that was able to do much in this game due to the winds and everything going on. I'm going to try and pull up the weather here really quick for the game. If the weather's good, though, I would expect Reagor and Fulgham to have good games here. The Browns secondary has just not really been good. It's been bad. Denzel Ward has been an absolute monster, though. So whoever he ends up locked on, I think he'll be able to kind of slow them down. Looks like rain and 47 degrees. So not too bad. It's not showing much on the wind front. Rain for me is not a big issue. So still could be a very good game for these offenses. Again, Ward isn't a travel cornerback. He plays the right side of the field, so he won't always be on Reagor or always be on Fulgham. So if I had to pick one of those, I'm obviously going Fulgham. He's definitely been better throughout the year. Sanders, while we do have him high, the Browns defense is good against the run. So I would be a little bit weary about expecting him to have a huge game here, though the receiving work out of the backfield will help the Browns can be beat in their linebacker core. And then Dallas Goedert, you can throw him in there. Let's see if he can continue to produce. We'll see. Ertz was added back off the IR list, so they have 21 days to add him back. So I imagine we're going to see him here soon. So this is kind of one of the last shots for Goddard to kind of really go out there and have it all to himself at the tight end position. On the Browns side, we've got Chubb coming in at 7, Kareem Hunt at 15, Jarvis Landry 44, and Austin Hooper 13. Seems like the formula for the Browns to win is by running the ball. We've obviously seen that with Chubb back. What does that mean for the passing game? It means you're shit out of luck if you were all in on Baker like I was. They just seem to be using that Kirk Cousins method where they only allow him to throw the ball 15 to 18 times a game. And I just don't think that that's going to be enough for him to produce for you at a fantasy level, including kind of the wide receivers, if I'm being honest. Unless those guys score touchdowns, they're all going to be kind of dropped for you. So that's why we have Landry so low. Hooper up at 13. Again, it's not hard for a tight end to come through for you and make your day fantasy-wise, just because really outside of Travis Kelce and Darren Waller at the moment with Kittle hurt, tight end is a trash land of the position, really. Any of those guys from like 3 through 26 could be a top 10 tight end on the week. So Hooper, if he gets you that touchdown, he has definitely gotten more and more involved in the passing game since he's come back from injury, and even the 2 weeks leading up to the appendectomy as well. So Hooper's a guy, we have him at 13. You may have a better option, play him. If not, I'm cool with it. Outside of that, though, it's just the running backs. You want Chubb, you want Hunt, and in all honesty, I think you want Hunt more than Chubb. Chubb, while he broke the big run that kind of gave him a lot of points along with the touchdown, outside of that, he did not look that great. Again, some of that just coming back from injury. He was out for 7 weeks, so you kind of expected him to have a little bit of a slower game where Hunt really looked good for whatever reason. When Chubb is in that lineup, Hunt just balls out. He had a really good game. All three of us are on the Browns as well to win this game. Dennis, Matt Fox, and myself, which is probably bad news. Probably means that the Eagles are going to win this, which is also bad because the Browns really need to win this game if they want to continue to be in the playoff race. It is a very tight playoff race here in the AFC, something we're going to dive deeper into on the podcast Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So they need a win here. It's one of those games that they should win. They need to get the win. Next up, the 4-5 Lions versus the 4-7 Panthers. So coming in here for Detroit, we have Stafford at 13 and Hockenson at 3. Swift was announced earlier will be out for this game. Same with Kenny Golladay and Danny Amendola. Wow. I don't even know what to say for Detroit right now. I guess fire at Marvin Hall and fire at Marvin Jones because the Panthers' defense against the pass is just god-awful. So you expect them to put up points somewhere. Obviously, people who myself were Kenny Golladay owners, we were hoping we were going to get Kenny G back. This is a perfect matchup for him to come back and put up points, but he's just not going to be there. And then obviously, same thing. DeAndre Swift had that, I don't want to call it weird concussion because we've heard about it. Maybe had a concussion, wasn't really feeling the symptoms, felt fine. And then for whatever reason, a different hit or something happened that really kind of made him realize he had the concussion. Has really affected him. It popped up yesterday. So me and Matt kind of talked about that as well. Coming into the games yesterday or before the Thursday night game, we were previewing stuff and talking about that news when it dropped. Like, hey, this is kind of a weird thing, and especially this late in the week, it's not something that you can trust or expect him to be able to play because it's so late into the week already. There's a lot of stuff they have to go through to clear concussion protocol. So Swift being out really sucks. I was really counting on him, and it hurts. After having that big breakout game, Dennis and me were talking off air beforehand that Adrian Peterson, when they approached him about Swift taking over the job, said you should have done it sooner. It's kind of what all of us fantasy fans were hoping for. So to see him come out and have the game he had last week and then now get the injury and then the concussion and not be able to play really kind of sucks. I'm probably going to drop Stafford in my rankings, too. I like Marvin Jones. Marvin Hall is okay. He's not a guy I'm really relying on, but you've just got those two and TJ Hockenson right now. And I know that it's a great matchup, but having just those two guys really kind of dropped Stafford in my rankings as well. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if we can get Dennis back on here. He said he was having issues, so give me 1 second, guys. Bear with me. Ugh. All right. Well, I don't know if it's going to work. All right. Well, since that's not working right there, we'll just see if we can get him back on here another way. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm sorry. We're having issues today. It's 2020, baby. That's what it's all about, right? Nobody can have anything perfect right now. All right, so moving on to Carolina, we've got Mike Davis coming in at 9, knowing that CMC is out. I see your question. Give me 1 minute. DJ Moore at 24, Robbie Anderson at 27, and Curtis Samuel at 43. Which receiver steps up this week? Bridgewater is out, so what impact does that have on the game? A lot. We've got PJ Walker going out there. Is a guy that Matt Fox really liked from his XFL days. Was the quarterback at Temple when Matt Rule was the head coach there as well. So those two have some familiarity, and so do him and Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson was a wide receiver when PJ Walker was a quarterback at Temple. So What I'm expecting is them using the run a lot. The one thing that's going to help them is Detroit does not have a great defense, specifically against the run. They did get a couple of their secondary members back. Name is escaping me right now. If Dennis was here, he'd know, being the Lions fan that he is. But hey, there we go. Let's see if it works now. He's back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, he is back. We hopefully have got our technical issues figured out. So I am talking about the Lions and the Panthers. We could start with the whole game here. You being the Lions fan, I mentioned obviously everybody got ruled out earlier today in Swift, Galladay, Danny Amendola. So you're looking at probably Hawkinson, Marvin Jones, and Marvin Hall. We did have Stafford ranked at 13. Obviously, before we knew all these guys were going to be out, does that affect your ranking at all for Stafford, even against the bad defense? And what are you expecting from the Lions?
Well, they've got Marvin Jones. They've got Marvin Hall. You didn't say Hawkinson was out, right?
Hawkinson is in. He's still playing, yeah.
So they've got adequate weapons, and they're playing the Panthers. So, it's not like they have something. They're not going up against that vaunted Ravens defense or something. They're playing the Panthers. I think you fire up. Adrian Peterson will be flexible. Kerryon Johnson may even be flexible. If Luton gets some points up on the board, or that's not Luton, PJ
Walker.
PJ Walker. If he connects with those wide receivers and they get some points up on the board, then you may see a fair amount of Kerryon Johnson if you're desperate. But Marvin Hall and Marvin Jones especially, and Hawkinson, our consensus rankings has Hawkinson at 3. So we obviously feel like that's going to be a good play. It wouldn't surprise me if it's a low-scoring game because the offenses just can't get something going. And it wouldn't surprise me if it's a high-scoring game because the defenses can't get something going. It could be a crapshoot. It's not what I'm looking to place a bet on the over-under for. That's for dang sure.
Very good, buddy. All right, so I have Mahomes, Nick Chubb, Carson, D-Hop, Michael Thomas, A-Rob at flex, and my bench RBs are JD. I'm assuming this JD McKissick and Hines. Should I try to trade Carson or A-Rob or for someone like Julio Keenan or another RB? Standard scoring. I mean, yes, it just depends on who you can get. I don't know how much value Carson has right now with him being out the past couple weeks. I believe Pete Carroll's kind of mentioned he's almost ready to come back. So if Carson's ready to come back, I think I'd honestly rather hold Carson, especially with your running backs, because I would definitely want Carson as my starter behind Chubb over JD, McKissick, and Hines. So I'd probably try and move A-Rob. Actually, man, to be honest with you, I probably just, if you can move A-Rob for like Julio or Keenan, yeah, I'd do it. But outside of that, I think A-Rob's your best starter outside of Hopkins, because we have not seen enough out of Michael Thomas for him to be playing this year, assuming this is a redraft league.
Right. If it's a redraft and being standard, if I can, I'd be more than happy to move. If that's McKissick and Hines, I'd send both of them if I could get Todd Gurley, because in standard, it's all about the touchdowns. So McKissick getting 20 targets and 10 catches a game, those 10 PPR points, he's only getting 6 yards a catch. So, and Hines is a little more explosive. Of the two, McKissick and Hines, I'd probably play Hines over McKissick because Hines gets more yardage and he's more likely to get a touchdown, I think, on a pass play. But I'd be looking for, if I'm going running back, I'm holding Carson, because when Carson gets back, we saw what they did with Hyde yesterday. He had 17 carries? When Carson's back, that's what Carson's getting. Carson's getting the full workload. But I'd be looking for, one of those, somebody like, who did I say? Gurley, that's going to be getting the goal line carries. That's going to has a higher probability of scoring. Trading A-Rob for Julio or Keenan, those feel like they're lateral moves. I think they all have that 100-yard, 1 touchdown capability. And since you're not getting a point per reception, it doesn't bump Keenan Allen up that way. So
All right, so I was waiting for this one. I wasn't sure if you're going to make it back. I was just talking about Swift. So with Swift being out, would you play Harris or Taylor? Probably Harris. I have Harris at 9 this week for me. I'm assuming
who they
I'm
playing?
assuming that's Damian Harris. They are playing Houston, so he's got the great matchup. Yeah. So, I mean, again, Taylor has a great matchup as well. Green Bay is bad against the run, but I just don't know how much they're going to use him. So it feels weird saying this. I feel safer in the volume where Harris will get with New England than Taylor will get with Indy because Hines has been good. He's shown no reason to not continue to let him run the ball and catch the ball. So I'd love to play Taylor because I've loved Taylor. Obviously, I would imagine you probably have not been listening to us from the beginning of the year when I was mentioning Taylor is like my top 12 RB this year. And that's not working out. But for me, I'd probably go Harris. I have Harris at 9 this week. I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah, I like Harris over Taylor as well.
All right. So what do y'all think? Cam Newton or Joe Burrow? I am leaning towards Cam. I am too. Again, playing Houston, I think the connection he's had with Jacoby Myers has been good for him. And I would almost say he's a shoo-in for at least one rushing touchdown, where Joe Burrow, again, I know they're going to have to pass the ball up, but I'm with Dennis and what he was saying. I don't see it being a high-scoring game in Washington. So I don't think Burrow gets you 3-4 touchdowns. So I'm going Cam.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. I like both of them. I think Burrow has the upside. You know, he could throw for 4 touchdowns. I don't know that he will against that defensive line. They're going to put some pressure on him. Now Burrow's fairly mobile. He moves around the pocket and he can get out and do some running. Oh, yeah. Cam is very mobile. I would expect Cam might get 10 or 12 carries and a touchdown. And you're right, he is developing a nice chemistry with Jacoby Myers because that's pretty much all they have.
That's very true. Yeah, so I was pulling up my rankings to see how I had them ranked, and I have Cam Newton at 8 and Joe Burrow at 9. So if I'm going to be a ranking slave, I'm definitely going Cam Newton. But yeah, I'm with you. That's extremely close. I don't think you lose either way, playing whichever one. But I think the separator for me is knowing that they continue to use Cam Newton as like a goal line back down there in the red zone and playing a horrible Houston defense. I would expect Cam Newton's going to get some decent rushing yards.
See, what did I have him? I have Burrow at 14 and Newton at 10, so it'd be Cam for me.
All right. So
if they're back to back, I consider it a coin flip if they're back to back,
Oh, yeah, I'm with you. That's why I said for me, I think the one that separates them since they're back-to-back to me is Cam's rushing upside. While Burrow, I think at this point, is probably a better runner in his career with as beat up as Newton has been. I don't think they're going to use Burrow down at the goal line the way they do Cam. So that kind of gives me that slight edge.
No, they're going to use some AJ Ryan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Carolina side, I was mentioning right before you came back as well. Again, we know that Bridgewater is out, so we're seeing PJ Walker out there. Has the history there with Matt Rule. He was the quarterback for Matt Rule when he was the head coach at Temple, and Robbie Anderson was the wide receiver there. We know Christian McCaffrey out as well. How does this cap the offense for you? Again, Lions defense, I couldn't remember the name of the player. That's what I was trying to remember right before you jumped on. They just got that guy back in the secondary last week. Because he's actually
Tracy Walker.
There we go. I couldn't remember who it was because they moved Akuda to the 3rd spot, which was insane to me. But their past defense the past couple of weeks since they got Walker back has been good. So I'm kind of curious as to what you think Carolina's offense could do here against Detroit.
I think that even with PJ Walker, they're going to run the same offense. The main difference in my eyes, historically, PJ Walker is not nearly as accurate as Teddy Bridgewater. And if I remember correctly, while he is faster than Bridgewater, I think he gets credit for being a lot better athlete than he actually is. So they're going to continue to do what they do. They're going to run the ball with Davis. They're going to check the ball down to Davis. They're going to work Moore and Samuel in the short and intermediate routes. They're going to work Robbie Anderson down the field. With the history between Brady, Rule, Anderson, and Walker, they're going to try to work on that, and they're going to let that settle in and marinate and try to recreate some of that college chemistry that they had. How's it going to look? Could look good. Could look like they're a college team playing against the pros. I'm not as big on PJ Walker as a lot of people are. Makes me nervous, but it wouldn't, Josh Allen surprised me with becoming a lot more accurate. So it wouldn't surprise me if PJ Walker did as well.
All right. Who you picking to win this one? You taking Detroit or are you taking Carolina?
I am taking Detroit.
As is Mr. Fox, and as am I. On to the 6-3 Titans versus 6-3 Ravens. We've got Henry coming in at 4, A.J. Brown 21, and Jonnu Smith at 7. What do the Titans need to do to get their offense back on track?
Feed Derrick Henry,
which
is against Baltimore might be a tall task.
Yeah.
But we know it just takes one broken tackle for Henry to tear off big chunks. And I think that is something that they're going to have to do. And if they can they're going to need to move Tannehill around. And A.J. Brown's got to not drop the ball.
Yeah.
Corey Davis has looked good. I'm buying into Corey Davis this year, and I'm still buying A.J. Brown. I get he had a terrible drop. Shit, it happens to everybody. Jonnu Smith has been down a couple weeks. So they've got a prime opportunity. They've got a couple people banged up on their offensive line, and that may create a couple issues for them against Baltimore. But for me, it's run Derrick Henry, pound on him with Derrick Henry, and then take shots when you got him.
Yeah, I mean, my advice on what their offense can do to fix itself is not play Baltimore this week. That would be helpful. That's not a great matchup for them. But yeah, I'm with you. They seem to have, I don't want to say gotten away from Derrick Henry, but it seems like some of these games have kind of gotten away from him and go all the way back to that Pittsburgh game where they've had to throw the ball more, and Tannehill hasn't quite looked the same as he did last year, even earlier this year. I am with you on the A.J. Brown thing. I mean, he has a much bigger day and a touchdown if he doesn't drop that one down the sideline last week. Those are kind of the three guys. Jonnu Smith, I mentioned it before. I think it was last week with Matt. We have him high, but he still kind of worries me. I think he's very touchdown dependent right now due to the injuries at their offensive line. If you watch them play, they seem to be using him a lot more blocking than they are actually having him out running routes. So if he doesn't get you that touchdown, he's only going to get you like 3 or 4 points. So Jonnu Smith is kind of almost boom bust at tight end. Granted, I think everybody outside like the top 2 tight ends right now are boom bust, but just want to throw that out there. On Baltimore's side, we've got Jackson coming in at 7 and Mark Andrews at 4. With Mark Ingram back in the fold, the running back rotation is a huge mess here going into week 10. Who would you lean on here out of those 3 guys, or how do you think it will improve, and who are you betting on this week in week 11?
I think if you're starting any of the Baltimore backs, it's because you don't have any other options.
Yeah.
I think they should give the ball to J.K. Dobbins is what they should do. And they should let Gus Edwards back him up and Mark Ingram be the cheerleader and the glue guy. But J.K. Dobbins is the most dynamic back that they have outside of Lamar Jackson. And I think they've fallen into a rut and they're struggling on how to get out of it. And they're looking for the hot hand, but they're not giving anybody enough time to develop the hot hand. And it's causing them to really struggle. Lamar hasn't, he's going to need to take a step up in accuracy this offseason if he wants to continue to grow. He struggled this year with his accuracy. And it's not like they don't have weapons. They've got Brown. They've got Andrews. Heck, they've got Willie Snead, who surprisingly has a decent game here and there. Miles Boykin, Devin Duvernay. So they've got some people who could make some plays, but they're going to need their defense to keep it close. Yeah. If Henry busts a big play and Smith busts a big play, then Baltimore is going to start to feel pressure. And when they feel pressure, then they start to try to throw more than they're really built to. And that'll create some problems unless Andrews or Brown makes a big play with the ball in their hands.
Yeah, and I think you almost have to count on Andrews doing it. They cannot seem to get Hollywood Brown the ball, and I think a lot of that goes to what you were just saying with the accuracy issues Lamar is having this year. It's just, we expected them to take a step back. He had obviously one of the more amazing seasons we've seen in a while right now. So, there we go. Taysom Hill, Jameis Winston. We were talking about your boy Matt a little bit earlier.
I was talking shit about him is what I was doing.
So I think it's probably going to be Andrews more than Marquise Hollywood Brown. I'm with you. I think I almost wonder it may be too late to fix things this year. It'll be one of those things where having a full offseason and everything might be helpful for the Ravens right now because their offense just does not look the same.
Well, they're 6-3, so they're second in the division. Tied? Are they tied with the Browns?
No, they technically have the advantage because they beat them head to head. So they're tied with the Browns record wise, but they have the advantage on the head to head.
So the potential to make the playoffs is there, so they could put it together. They need to. I don't know if who's their offensive coordinator, Greg Roman.
Yes.
I don't know if he's completely completely redesigned the offense to fit Lamar Jackson's strengths. Yeah. Now Jackson's strengths aren't strong, and I don't think he knows how to get out of it. He being Roman, because I think he looks at Jackson and says, well, we can't run a conventional downfield passing offense because Jackson isn't good at it. And so it leads, when they try it, it leads to 3 and outs. So, they could put it together. They need to revert to what they were doing last season, and that may be Jackson running the ball 15, 20 times a game to get it back on track.
So I want to take Tennessee here, but I think I'm going to go Baltimore. The one thing I will say is Tennessee's secondary is very bad, so I could see Marquise Hollywood Brown getting that one big play here, but I'm going to go Baltimore. What about you?
I'm taking Tennessee.
And I can't see what Matt Fox did. Where'd my thing go?
He took Tennessee.
Tennessee. Okay, cool. My show sheet's not working. There we go. All right, so next up, we've got the 4-5 New England Patriots and the 2-7 Houston Texans. New England side here, Cam Newton at 11, Damian Harris 18, Rex Burkhead 30, and Jacoby Myers 32. The Patriots have really been in a groove offensively the past couple weeks. Do you think that they keep it up?
Why not? I mean, it's not like they're playing the 95 Bears or 85 Bears, they're going up against Houston, who's struggling on defense. So there's every opportunity for them to keep it rolling. I expect a big game out of Harris. Surprisingly, what surprised me the most, I think for about from the Patriots has been how Rex Burkhead has basically supplanted James White.
Yeah, Matt was talking about that Monday. It seems like Rex Burkhead has become the James White, and James White's gone to becoming Rex Burkhead. It's
right.
And we talked about this for a little bit.
James White's become Brandon Bolden's what he's become.
We wondered if it had anything to do, obviously, with the family tragedy that happened earlier in the year. I mean, he's talked openly about how that's been very hard on him and what he's had to do to help take care of his mom. And I mean, I think any of us can understand that with losing a father and your mother being in critical condition. So, we talked about it then. We're like, for us, it's more of just, I was giving him props for just showing up on game day because I don't know how I would be able to even handle that. So Rex Burkhead has stepped up, and I think it's going to be interesting because it's so hard to rank Rex Burkhead high, but I feel like he's the last couple of weeks continued to come through as like a top, at least wide receiver, running back too. But yet, we don't want to rank him up there because the minute you do it, he's going to give you like that 4-point performance. So it's so frustrating.
1 carry for 4 yards and 1 drop pass.
But I'm with you. I'm all in on Jacoby Myers. We just obviously talked about Newton with the question earlier on Newton or Burrow, and then I've been all in on Damian Harris for weeks, so it's great to see him finally getting some run here. I will continue to say though, I think he's very he is very touchdown dependent in getting you a lot of points a week. He's going to continue to get the carries, and he does a good job running the ball, but if he doesn't score you that touchdown, he may only get you that anywhere from like 8 to 12 points based on the rushing yardage because they're not using him at all in the receiving game. Houston side, we got Watson at 8, Duke Johnson at 20, Will Fuller at 11, and Brandon Cooks at 29. Can the Texans get any wins this offseason outside of the Jaguars? Are there only 2 wins coming against Jacksonville?
Yeah, I want to believe that Deshaun Watson can put them on his shoulders and carry them to victories. But it all comes down to, does Will Fuller make the big play? If Fuller can hit those long passes, or Cooks can hit those long passes, then maybe. Duke ain't it.
Yeah.
When it comes to running the ball. He might have been the leading rusher in the University of Miami history when he left, but in the NFL, he ain't it.
Yeah,
so
it's not working for him.
And Watson doesn't throw the ball to the running back that much. At consensus 20, we're probably too high on him.
Yeah.
It feels like it's one of those games where Watson probably leads the team in rushing. And not designed rushing,
right?
It's getting out of the pocket, but we're due for one of those Darren Fells 3 touchdown games. I'm trying to will that into existence because I got to start Fells. So.
hey, I feel you. I've done that a lot. It didn't always work out for me, so I hope it works out for you because I'm
not feeling good. Not feeling good.
It has not been working for me either. All right. I am taking the Patriots. So is Mr. Fox. Who are you picking here, Dennis?
I'm picking the Patriots as well.
All right. So we've got Claypool, Deontay Johnson, DJ Chark, Marvin Jones. I'm assuming that's T. Higgins. I would assume you're not putting Rashard Higgins up there. I could be wrong, but I'm going to guess T. Higgins. And Darius Slayton. Pick 3 out of those 6.
Well, I'm definitely sitting Slayton since he's on a bye.
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I guess it's a good point. I didn't even realize that. So, yeah, Slayton.
And I like Deontay more over Claypool.
I think I'm going Claypool, Deontay, and Higgins.
Yeah, Jacksonville's going up
against Steelers. I don't want to play a chart. I want to find a way to get Marvin Jones in, though. He just seems like the play this week with everyone out on Detroit. But my biggest
I'm more inclined, if I can avoid starting 2 people from the same team, especially when they can be boom or bust, I'll tend to try to not start 2. So I'm going to go Deontay, Marvin Jones, and T. Higgins.
Yeah, so that's what I was about to bring up because we're actually on that game now. So who did you pick? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Did you pick
Deontay? I picked the Patriots.
So we're actually going to talk about the game. So I'll leave this up for a minute here, Mark. You're a big fan of the show anyway, so we can kind of keep your question up here, get to it in a minute. 9-0 Steelers at the 1-8 Jacksonville Jaguars. We've got Ben at 6, Connor at 11, Deontay at 10, Juju at 15, Claypool at 25, and Ebron at 11. It's a couple down games for Connor. Does he get back on track? And what worries me here about the Steelers game is I don't see Jacksonville being able to keep up with Pittsburgh. So this could literally be a blowout by halftime because that defense is not going to be able, I think, contain this offense either. So my big fear in that, and what Dennis was just saying as well, is if they're up, say 24, 28, 30 something to 3 or 7 at halftime, they may just move this more to like a running game to get Connor going a little bit because he's kind of struggled the past couple of weeks, which means you're losing those points out now on Deontay and Claypool. So I'm with Dennis. Deontay is the one on that offense the entire time. So if it were me, I'm going Deontay, Marvin Jones, and Higgins. What is your thoughts here with Pittsburgh going up against this bad Jacksonville defense?
Yeah, I think it's a situation where C.J. Henderson has been playing really, really well for Jacksonville. So they do have that going for him. But I like Deontay Johnson. The dude is a baller. We did see Juju kind of have a comeback last week.
Well, he's been good the past couple weeks. He's really kind of started off horribly, but has really kind of come on lately.
So I feel like they're getting to the point of a little too many mouths to feed in Pittsburgh. Unless they're going to score 50 points a game, somebody's going to end up suffering. And if so, I agree with you. If they get up by 3 touchdowns, then they're going to hammer the ball with Connor. And we know that Pittsburgh, with Tomlin, with Cowher, with Noel, they're a one-back team. They've been a one-back team for 50 years. That's, since Franco Harris. And I maybe go back further. I just don't remember anybody before Franco Harris. But they hammer the ball with that one back. So I feel good about Connor getting some play. If I'm going to put my money on one of the wide receivers, I'm going with Deontay Johnson. Ebron is a little bit touchdown dependent. He may catch 3 or 4 passes, but it seems like he's in that converting first downs role right now. Occasionally he'll catch a touchdown, but for the most part, he's going to catch 3 or 4 passes. He catches 4 passes, for 29 yards, and 3 of them convert first downs. It keeps the drive going, but somebody else ends up with the touchdown and the majority of the yardage during the game. So I like Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh is going to run away with this. On the other hand, they get up 3 touchdowns. Maybe Jacksonville isn't converting, but we've seen Jake Luton chuck the ball downfield. Yeah. You've got DJ Chark and Keelan Cole and Chris Conley. It could end up being something.
That brings me to that side, because we've got Robinson at 8 and Chark at 26. And my biggest fear with Chark is I think obviously Joe Hayden's beatable. I don't know if that's who they're going to have on him. I still don't think Hayden travels anymore. He seems to just play the one side of the field. So if Chark's moving around, it won't be Hayden on him all the time. Regardless, Pittsburgh has a good defense. Kind of what are you expecting out of this? Do you feel comfortable playing Chark? I mean, again, we have him at 26, so that's a wide receiver 3. I don't know what to expect out of him. I think what you just mentioned is you're kind of hoping for a big play out of him. Outside, I just don't see him getting a volume play against a good defense like Pittsburgh. So you're hoping he gets that big play, maybe a touchdown or 2 because of garbage time. And we got Jake Luton channeling, garbage time, Blake Bortles out there and just tossing the ball all over the place.
Well, I'm all for garbage time hero. I don't know if I'm going to start Jake Luton in the spots. I've got him I roster him on a couple teams, and I just don't know if I have that much guts going against this mighty Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I do think Chark is going to get volume because they're going to have to throw the ball. The question is, will he be able to convert it? So if Chark gets 7, 8, 9 targets, converts 5 of them for 75 yards, I'd like to think that, he's going to get at least 1 touchdown. Maybe it's 5 for 60. I think he'll get a touchdown. But again, early in the season, we did see Keelan Cole lead them from the receiver position for the first 3 or 4 games. Well, I don't know if Chark was out or he just hadn't gotten fired up yet or not. So I'm not overly concerned with Chark, just because I feel like we're looking at a garbage time hero kind of game.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I guess Matt was wondering, and we'll get quick thoughts on this before we pick the game. I can't imagine anybody's going Jacksonville here. But do you think with the way that a Chark season has gone, do you think he's a buy low for Dynasty? I mean, a lot of us we've talked about, I've jokingly said when him and Trevor Lawrence are paired together, he's going to be dynamite. It doesn't look like he's going to get Trevor Lawrence, though, because the Jets, I don't think, are going to win a game.
Yeah, but he's going to get Justin Fields.
So is just as damn good. I agree.
So no, I do. You buy talent, not situation. Situation can improve the production, obviously, but you want to buy talent. And if you can buy low, I think Chark is a top 24 receiver.
Yeah, I agree.
And so if I can go out and get him at a reasonable price, I am.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And we are all taking Pittsburgh, I imagine. I don't think Matt put his name on that one, but I'm pretty sure he's not going Jacksonville. So we're going to go ahead and count him for going with Pittsburgh there. Next up, the 6-3 Dolphins at the 3-6 Broncos. Miami side here, we got Tua at 17, Salvon Ahmed at 23, Devontae Parker 31, Mike Gesicki at 12. Tua won't have the numbers that Burrow and Herbert are putting up, but if he keeps winning and he possibly gets the Dolphins to the playoffs, do you think he could be the Rookie of the Year? Because I already think he's in the discussion. Do you think he can win Rookie of the Year?
I think he can. It depends on how far they go in the playoffs. When do they vote? Do they vote before the playoffs?
Before the season, yeah.
Cincinnati probably isn't going to be close.
Yeah.
The Chargers probably aren't going to be close. So it depends on how much they weight the numbers over the wins. I feel like if we take Burrow and Herbert out of the mix, and it's Tua or somebody else, then maybe he can. But you've got James Robinson, who has had a phenomenal year.
Yeah.
On a terrible team, and so at some point, you have to determine, would the Dolphins be winning these close games with Ryan Fitzpatrick?
I mean, he was earlier in the year, so.
Right. So I feel like if you answer that question no, you're probably, blinded by your Tua love. I love Tua. He was my QB1, rookie QB1. And I think he's going to be great. However, I think they'd have. I don't think that Fitzpatrick would have cost them games. I think they'd have still won games. Flores has that defense and that team playing smart.
Yep.
So then it comes down to, well, is it just about the production? And if that's the case, then you're looking at Herbert, Burrow, and James Robinson, I think, are the top three there. So I'd probably say no.
Yeah, I don't think he has a chance to. I've consistently said wins are a team stat, not a QB stat. And Tua hasn't. I mean, I'll be honest, Tua's played good the past 2 weeks. That week one, it did not look great, but then the past 2 weeks, he's looked good. My thing with Herbert is he's putting up numbers we've never seen out of a rookie quarterback before, that we were all expecting Joe Burrow to be putting up right now, not Justin Herbert. I understand that the team's not winning, but I think if we all go and look at it, it's not because of Herbert, it's because of their defense, which is what Tua has the benefit of, is having a good defense, as you just mentioned there. So for me, I think it's Herbert's award to lose. He would have to go on a serious downhill slide here on the back half of the season, which I'm not expecting, because everybody was talking about last week being his bad game, and he still put up really good stats, still threw for 3 touchdowns. So Herbert's been really good. I think it's him and Robinson, in my opinion, are the top two for that award, and I think it's going to end up going to Herbert. On the Broncos side here, we've got Gordon at 26, Lindsey at 36, Judy at 45, and Fant at 8. Looks like Locke is going to be out this week, so you got Brett Rippon going up against that really good Miami Dolphins defense here. What are your thoughts on the Broncos' offensive chances?
Well, I think Rippon comported himself well in his appearance. He looked. I think he did better than Driscoll.
Yeah.
I think he makes decent decisions. The struggle is going to be with the running game. If that running game can't generate any yardage to keep the Miami defense honest, then you're going to have Emmanuel Ogbah pinning his ears back, and Jerome Baker and Raekwon McMillan and those cats coming at you pretty hard. I think it'll be a lower scoring game because I think that's the way the Dolphins play it. So unless Judy or Fant break long ones, I don't think we're in for a shootout.
Yeah.
So that being said, I could see Vic Fangio saying in an effort to keep Brett Rippon alive, we're going to run the ball a little more, even if we're only getting 2.5, 3 yards a pop. We'll play field position and that type of game. So,
yeah, I'm with you. I'm not expecting much. I think it's going to be kind of, unfortunately, an easy win here for Miami because I need them to lose for my Browns to have a better chance of making the playoffs here. But I think they're going to get the win here. Matt Fox picked the Dolphins to win as well. How about you, Dennis?
I have the Dolphins as well.
All right. Next up, the 0-9.
Who'd you pick?
I picked the Dolphins as well. Yeah, I'm taking the Dolphins. 0-9 Jets versus the 2-7 Chargers. We got P. Ryan at 31, Crowder at 29. We will have Joe Flacco playing again this week. Has looked better and better every single week he's been starting. We've had Adam Gase come out and say that they need to get LaMichael P. Ryan the ball more, which means he's going to get 2 carries this week. But what are your thoughts right now on those 2 guys for the Jets?
I agree with Adam Gase's statement.
Yeah.
And if it were me, I would make sure that it happens since I'm the head coach and actually have the authority to tell my offensive coordinator, hey, man, get that dude the ball.
Yeah.
Becton's been playing well. Their offensive lines looked okay. I think that it just comes down to – so here's what it looks like. P. Ryan off right tackle for 5 yards. P. Ryan off left tackle for 5 yards. In comes Frank Gore for 1 yard punt. It's maddening. But P. Ryan is a decent pass catcher. Denzel Mims is playing well. I think it's safe to say we are not going to experience a Chris Herndon breakout. And Crowder and Braxton Berrios both, if they should run double slots because when those 2 dudes are in the slot, they're producing. They're produced like Phillip Rivers in the slot, let me tell you.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. I'm going. I like Crowder this week. I'd love to see Brashad Perriman continue to put up points. Obviously, had the big game last week. We'll see if it happens. The Chargers defense can be beat in the secondary, but if I had to play Brashad Perriman, it would be a desperation play. I do trust Crowder, though. Crowder's been absolutely amazing this year. For the Chargers, got Herbert coming in at 4. Kalen, I can't even call him Kalen Garbage because he actually played good last week. So Kalen Ballage at 25, Keenan Allen 6, and Hunter Henry at 6 as well. Ballage is seemingly taking over the backfield. So what does this mean for Joshua Kelly?
It means he must have said something bad about Anthony Lynn's wife or something.
Yeah, that's the rumors. That's what we're hearing.
He's been put into witness protection, and
yeah,
I don't know, man. And Kelly, not looking. He didn't look like the second coming of Adrian Peterson or LaDainian Tomlinson or anything. He started off the year, he looked pretty well.
Yeah.
But man, to get pushed aside for Kalen Ballage and Tremaine Pope, you've done something. You're missing something. Something isn't clicking.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what it is, but it's not clicking for you. I think we're due for some Trent Richardson recurrence out of Kalen Ballage. I don't think we're gonna. I think the couple good games he's had are a mirage.
I'm with you. Obviously, with my nickname of him, know that I agree with you. So
I mean, let my opponents roll Kalen Mirage out there and let him get him 3 points this week. I'm all for it. Herbert's. I'm nervous about Herbert only from the standpoint of, he cut his Samson hair. So we could be in for a five interception game right now. It could get ugly and actually, Gase may come off the sideline and tackle a DB, running back a pick six. Or Joe Douglas might. The connection between Herbert and Keenan Allen is good. Hunter Henry's playing better. They're throwing the ball to Henry more. Mike Williams and Jalen Guyton. So there's definitely some firepower on the offensive side of the ball for the Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, with the way that him and Allen have been so far this year, I'm expecting a huge game out of them against this Jets team. So I'm all in on Herbert. No, I'm not as worried about him cutting his hair. I just think it's unfortunately, well, I was going to say all the losing. Oregon, they only lost a couple games a year, but unfortunately, they weren't winning as much as I'm sure he hoped. But I think it's going to be a great game for them all around. With you on Balaj, that's why I was telling everybody go Salvon Ahmed over Balaj on the waiver runs this week. Might have one more good game, but there's a lot of talk. Eckler will be back soon, where I don't know when Gaskin's going to come back. So we'll see what happens with Balaj. And if he plays bad again this week, I will definitely bring the nickname back out. But I felt like he deserved, after the play he had this past week, to get his actual name out there. I am taking the Chargers. So is Mr. Fox. What about you, Dennis?
I am Chargers all the way.
All right.
San Diego Superchargers.
Let's get – well, no, the Los Angeles Superchargers now.
Doesn't have that same ring.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. The 2-7 Cowboys at the 4-5 Vikings. We've got Zeke Elliott at 12, Cooper at 20, and Lamb at 33. Andy Dalton is back, and he says he feels good. Will his play be good? That is the question.
I mean, it's not going to be worse than Ben DiNucci.
That's debatable. That's really debatable, I think.
No, it's not. No, it might be maybe for Gilbert.
That's what I was thinking of. Yes, you are correct.
I mean, I got to be honest. I might play Taysom Hill over Ben DiNucci. So, no, I think Dallas got when Dak went out and Dalton came in, they struggled. It was surprising, I think, to everybody. I think we all expected Dalton to perform better. Missing a couple games with the concussion, I don't think it helps the continuity for Dalton. But I think Dalton is a better quarterback than he showed those first couple games. And they've got weapons with Zeke and Cooper and Lamb and Gallup. The weapons are there. And it's definitely an opportunity for Dalton to redeem himself against a very mediocre Minnesota defense.
Oh, I've got the game on in the background there. I see my boy Rondale Moore is out there. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I can't wait for this. I'm trying to tweet that out really quick. I apologize, everyone. Rondale Moore is back. All right. Oh, that's not nice. I don't know if that's a compliment or not. It's
a backhanded compliment.
Backhanded compliment. I mean, I'll take it. I'll take it, I guess. I love me some Sean McVay talk. We could bring it back, maybe, but thank you, I guess. I don't know. I guess thank you. Anyways, now I'm almost obviously I hope too Dalton is gonna be better. I think that only helps out Zeke, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper. Cooper, as much as I love to hate on him, was looking phenomenal with Dak. So and he was the best looking receiver with DiNucci as well. So if him and Dalton can kind of get going, it'll be great to see this offense kind of getting back in step, especially with as high as we all were on this Cowboys offense with Dak. Like to see some kind of production there. On Minnesota side, we've got Dalvin Cook coming in at 1, Adam Thielen at 9, Justin Jefferson at 14. Should be a good matchup. If the Vikings offense can do it again, they'll be back up at 500. Are you expecting them to be good this week?
Yeah, that Dallas defense isn't terrific.
Yeah.
And Dalvin Cook is he's RB1 this year. It's between him and Kamara, and it seems like Kamara is starting to get dinged up as he tends to do, and Cook is looking phenomenal. It's funny. So my son from my first marriage is about 33, 34 years old, and my 15-year-old recently called him Dollar Store Hugh Jackman.
That's not a bad compliment either, though. Hugh Jackman is a good-looking dude.
So I'm a little bit concerned when it comes to Thielen because it seems like if he doesn't get the touchdowns, he's going to get you about 8 points. So he's become touchdown dependent.
Yeah.
But hell, he keeps scoring touchdowns, and I keep taking those points because I have a fair number of shares of Adam Thielen rostered.
Yep.
I do like Jefferson. Jefferson looks great. He's getting the volume. I guess the last game, Jefferson had 10 targets, Thielen had 7. So there isn't that big of a disparity in the targets. But it sure feels big when you got Jefferson catching 7 passes for 115 yards and Thielen catching 4 for 45. It feels like a huge gap that Thielen, as long as he gets those 2 touchdowns, that's great. I just traded for Jefferson in the league. I needed, what did I need? I needed something. And this guy had been trying to get CD Lamb. I had Lamb, and I just felt like it was such a lateral move to go from Lamb to Justin. Yeah. I think we swapped. I think he gave me and I needed another player. I wish I could remember. I don't feel like pulling it up, but anyways, I ended up making the move because I needed to fill either a tight end or a running back spot or something. So, anyways, that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Yeah, it is what it is. I complain about my fantasy teams on Mondays all the time. So, I'm with you. Cook has been absolutely amazing. It's crazy to think that draft season was here and he was easily probably like the 4th or 5th back off the board, and now he's clearly going to be the one. And I kind of mentioned to Matt, so I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. With the way that this year's been and how beat up CMC has been, you've got Barkley with the injuries. Zeke has just been not good. I mean, you have, as you mentioned, Kamara and Cook. I wonder if we see that huge correction coming next year, like you always see with these players that kind of disappoint you, and wonder if it's going to be more of like Alvin Kamara and Dalvin Cook as the top 2 options off the board next year in drafts.
I think that their tendency to get dinged up may scare people off, but we've seen CMC and Barkley both have significant injuries this year. So going into next year, we're going to be looking at our top 5 running backs from this year being, CMC, Barkley, Kamara, Cook, and Zeke. 4 of the 5 having injuries and being banged up, and Zeke just underperforming. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to watch how it starts to shake up. I just looked up that trade. I sent CD Lamb in a second for Justin Jefferson, Salvon Ahmed in a third because I needed a running back.
Well, it's not bad at all.
No, it's a wash.
Yeah,
but I needed a running back.
So T. Higgins or Brandon Ayuk the rest of the season, I'm going Higgins. Ayuk just got put back on the COVID list, so I don't even know. He's probably not playing this week with him going on the list as of Friday.
Well, let me riddle me this, Batman.
Yes.
Jimmy Garoppolo or Joe Burrow? That makes that question freaking easy.
Well,
it's not a question.
It is in a little bit because I love Ayuk and the way that Shanahan uses him in the offense, especially rushing the ball as well. He has a little bit of extra dynamic that Higgins doesn't. I just think it's more of that offense as a even though Cincinnati's offense is not good, you have Joe Burrow out there. I don't think Garoppolo's coming back this year either to begin with. I think it's going to be Mullins the rest of the year. But I'd rather have Higgins paired with T. What's going on here, man? Like, seriously, what did I do? But I'm going Higgins. I got you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No offense was taken.
Distant cousins.
Like back to Adam and Eve kind of distant.
Yes, but there's that connection somewhere. You just got to really go back and look for it. Did we even pick the game? I'm taking the Vikings. Did we pick? I don't remember.
Matt
the Vikings to win.
Matt and I both took Dallas.
All right. Next up, the 7-2 Packers at the 6-3 Colts. We've got Rodgers coming in at 5, Aaron Jones at 3, and Devontae Adams at 2. Adams has practiced once this entire week on Wednesday. That is it. Are you worried about him at all in this matchup? Colts have a very good defense.
How much practice do you think Devontae Adams needs?
0, because he is an absolute stud.
That's right. That's goddamn right. So, and Rodgers trusts him.
Yeah.
So Adams is the new Jordy Nelson, and the new James Jones. It's just he's the next in line. He's going to get all the targets except for 2, which MVS is going to take one of them for 75 and a touchdown.
Yeah, this seems like it.
But no, it's Devontae Adams is he's just a baller, and Rodgers trusts him. He knows where he's going to be. He puts the ball where virtually Adams is the only one that can catch it, and he knows the game plan. Tough defense or no, Rodgers is one of those guys that defense is kind of irrelevant. He knows the defense is going to make plays, and he believes that he can make plays, and so he's going to go make plays.
Yeah, I'm with you. Unless they come out at some point in time this weekend and say Adams is going to be limited in the game, he's in my lineup. He's just too, even, he came back out into the game with that ankle injury and still looked okay. Now they say now that he probably shouldn't have gone back out there, but he did what he did.
Adams will be limited to goal line work, so he's going to catch 3 passes for 12 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and I'll take that all day long right now. On the Colts side here, we've got Hines at 21, Taylor at 28, and Pittman at 23. Hines seemed to take over the lead back last week. Do you think that continues this week?
Let me consult my Ouija board.
Oh, I know.
I don't think Hines has what it takes to carry the ball 20 times a game. He can carry the ball 20 times in a game, but then you're not going to see him for about 3 games. He just doesn't have what it takes. I think Taylor, at some point, it's gonna start to click for Taylor. He's clearly more talented than Hines, a better runner than Hines, I guess. I won't say more talented because on the receiving part of the game, Hines is it. He's the real deal. But he's more talented than Jordan Wilkins. And as much as it hasn't looked like this season so far, I'm going to say he's more talented than Marlon Mack. I laugh sometimes when I see those tweets come out that are like, so if Mack hadn't got injured, would Taylor have even seen the field? Yes, he would have.
Yeah,
he would. I don't think that I think that he may have performed better from the standpoint of he wouldn't have had the pressure to step up from the get-go. And while I get the whole philosophy of, well, he's a professional, he's an alpha, he wants the ball, you've still got to learn how the game works. You've got to get it together and sort of understand the process of being a professional football player. It just takes some time. And oftentimes it takes a season. So I'm not too concerned about Jonathan Taylor. If they get into a game where the Packers are out in front and they're playing catch up, we're likely to see a heavy dose of Nyheim Hines, though. Yeah. And I don't know that we have any reason to Indianapolis's defense is good. I think Green Bay's offense is better. And so I could see them getting up by a couple scores. And at some point by the second half, there's going to, I don't see Indianapolis running the ball a lot in the second half.
Yeah, I think for me, the biggest separator is actually going to be the Packers defense against the Colts offense. I do not think the offense for the Colts is good at all. While the Packers defense isn't great, I don't trust what I've seen out of Phillip Rivers the past couple of weeks. That being said, Pittman has kind of come on. What worries me, sorry, I really realized I'm all red here. They got a Reese's Pieces commercial going on here in the background. I just got that game up on the big TV right now. Pittman's been good, but the return of Jair Alexander kind of scares me a little bit with Pittman because I would think if I'm the defensive coordinator for the Packers, I want Alexander going up against Pittman, not Eugene Hilton. Your thoughts on Pittman this week?
Well, does Alexander travel, or does he just play aside?
No, even though they played those zone concepts from everything I've heard and read, they still man him up most of the time. He doesn't do it he doesn't travel the entire time like Richard Sherman used to, but for the most part, he still plays man concepts while the rest of the defense doesn't.
So I like Pittman a lot.
Yeah.
He's going to have the size advantage. Alexander's a bigger corner, but Pittman is a bigger wide receiver. He's not quite Mike Evans, but he's up there pretty big. The challenge will be Phillip Rivers' noodle arm. They'll take a couple shots. I think if Alexander doesn't follow Pittman 100% of the time, Rivers is a smart quarterback, and so on those plays where Alexander might be on Hilton or on the other side of the field for some odd reason, I could see those being the times where Rivers takes the shot with Pittman. I don't know if I'm going to pencil Pittman in for a 100-yard game and a touchdown, but I like what he's doing this season, and I roster him in a fair number of spots. So,
yeah. I mean, he was a guy that I know you liked from the beginning. I've got him on a couple teams too. I've got him in my lineups this week. I'm hoping for the best, but Jair Alexander is definitely a tough matchup. Hopefully he gets a little matchups against a couple other players like you were mentioning, and he can put up some points. I am picking the Packers, as is Mr. Fox. What about you?
Packers for me as well.
All right. The 8-1 Chiefs at the 6-3 Raiders. We've got Mahomes coming in at 2, CEH 14, Hill at 4, Kelsey at 1. We have not seen much of the running game of the past few games. Will this be the time? Will this be the game that the Chiefs go back to the run?
I don't know that it was realistic to expect the Chiefs to run the ball a lot anyways. Yeah. I would have expected them, when you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, I probably expect them to be in the bottom half of rushing attempts in the league. And while CEH is a decent running back and Lev Bell is a decent running back, I think Bell hurts CEH's production a bit.
Yeah.
Even if right now it's still the name value that causes it, Bell can still make some plays. I think for CEH, he's going to have to have another week one kind of game at some point to restore that faith and sort of reestablish himself as the lead dog there. He's a rookie, and Bell is in his 6th year, 7th year now. And he's still productive. So I can see where bringing in somebody like Lev Bell might make you feel a little bit nervous as a rookie. And while you cognitively are aware that, hey, I'm the guy, you're still looking over your shoulder at Lev Bell saying, if I screw up, this guy can easily step right in here and I might not see the field again for 3 weeks.
Yeah. I do not expect them to run the ball a little bit more. There was a lot of talk that Andy Reid and the Chiefs were not happy with the way that Oakland celebrated and acted in their win and the upset against the Chiefs earlier this year. I think the Chiefs are going to pour it on the Raiders. I think they're going to pass. I think it's going to be a massive game for the Chiefs. I honestly think they're going to blow the Raiders out in this one. For the Raiders side, though, we've got Jacobs coming in at 10 and Waller at 2. Obviously, I kind of already answered this question from my side, but the Raiders stunned the Chiefs earlier this season. Do you think they do it again now or this week?
I think they do. I think that they're going to try and grind it with Josh Jacobs, who has shown the ability to do that. Waller is a trusted receiver, and Devontae Booker's risen from the dead to become that reliable, or dare I say, dynamic pass catching back that we all were led to believe by Gruden that Josh Jacobs would be as well. If the Raiders can stay healthy on their offensive line, I think they have they've beaten Kansas City, and they believe that they can beat Kansas City, and now they're at home versus Kansas City. So I think it could be one of those games where Andy Reid outcoaches himself.
Sorry guys, Rondell Moore on his first run there just ran it for like 40 yards. It's just a great play. Already, I'm loving it. I think the Raiders will probably be in it for a little bit, but I don't think that they end up winning this game. I'm all Chiefs. I'm picking the Chiefs as well. So is Mr. Fox. Dennis, are you taking the Raiders?
I am taking the Raiders.
All right. On to the Monday night. That was the Sunday night football game, right? Chiefs Raiders?
That was. Yep.
Monday night football game, 6-3 Rams versus 7-3 Buccaneers. We got Goff at 14, Woods at 18, and Cooper Kupp at 19. All three backs were involved in week 10. Are you trusting any of them? And if you are, who for week 11?
I rank them Henderson, Brown, and Akers. With that being said, not surprised a bit if Akers leads them in rushing because he is dynamic. I think Brown is that Mr. Reliable kind of guy. Going to get you 4 yards. He's not going to break big runs. Henderson is dynamic, can do a lot of things. I just think I think much like Jonathan Taylor, it's not quite clicking for Akers just yet. And part of that is McVay not giving him enough playing time. And I get you have other good backs in Henderson and Brown, so it kind of makes sense to not put this rookie in there and give him the reps when he might be a little bit overwhelmed still, maybe misreading the whole, isn't quite performing up to where you needed him to be. We saw it last year with Henderson. So it's not out of the realm of possibilities that the whole thing is just that it's not quite clicking yet for Akers. So I trust Henderson the most, and part of it is because of his explosiveness. I think, unfortunately, when you get inside the red zone, they tend to go to Malcolm Brown. So that might limit Henderson's touchdown upside. But, basically, I guess if you look at our rankings, we're not too high on any of the backs there, so they're at best flex plays.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa Bay's got a really good rush defense. So for me, I have it just a little bit switched for you. I have Akers and Brown switched. I have Henderson 1, Akers 2, Brown 3. I had mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I thought coming out of the bye, they would try and get Akers more involved. That gave him a little bit more time to get more antiquated into the offense, or not antiquated, more integrated into the offense here. That's the word I was actually looking for. And we saw it that first week out. He got a bunch of carries, so I think they're going to continue to try to work him in there. But I think Henderson is still the guy. He's been the guy most of the year. But I'm with you. With that defense that they're going up against the Tampa Bay, I do think that they're all kind of relegated to flex plays for whichever one you're going to use. Tampa Bay's side here got Brady at 10, Ronald Jones at 19, Chris Godwin at 17, Mike Evans at 30, and Gronk at 5. Obviously, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers had a great matchup last week, and he was able to get everybody involved. What are you expecting out of them here in week 11? I am going to say not a lot. I think this is going to be a tough matchup for them against the Rams. Rams have a very good front. Tom Brady, while he's never been mobile, is even less mobile now at 42, 43, I believe. I think that line is going to be able to get after them a little bit. They've got a good secondary with Ramsey and those guys. I think we'll be able to shut down the receivers a little bit. I don't see this being a high-scoring game, and I don't see all these guys coming through for you in fantasy.
I would be hesitant to think that they can all come through, but Brady is smart, and if they're under pressure, everything he does is going to be quick. He's not going to, if Aaron Donald's breathing down his neck after 2 seconds every play, he's going to start getting the ball out in a second and a half, and that means 6 yards to Gronk, 6 yards to Godwin. It's 6 yards to Evans. And if he's completing every pass for 6 yards, well, it only takes 2 to get a first down. And we've seen numerous times that Mike Evans only needs 1 yard to score 6.1 points or 7.1s and 7.1 points in a full PPR. So it'll depend on their reaction to the defense. So Jones might end up being the guy that suffers the most. Because if they have to go to the quick passing game, we've already been shown Leonard Fournette is the passing down back. He's the nickel back, for lack of a better term, is what Arian said. So when they're going to the passing game, it's Leonard Fournette. But I fully expect that to happen. If the Rams are getting pressure on Brady isn't he's not going to stand back there and take hits. He's going to get the ball out quick until they slow their rush down, and then they're going to take some deep shots. And with Antonio Brown and Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, they've got the tools to take the deep shots. They're just going to have to make sure that they've got the defense off schedule so that they're getting the time to do it. And Brady has the brains to do that.
All right. I am taking the Rams, as is Mr. Fox. What about you, Dennis?
I am going with Tampa.
All right. So that does it for us here for week 11. We will be back on Tuesday, not Monday. It's my son's birthday, so we're going to take the day off. You'll see me and Mr. Fox bright and early Tuesday afternoon, where we will recap the Monday Night Football game and all the other games, and then we'll be back again later that afternoon. Dennis joining us as we will talk about all of the games coming up on Thanksgiving, and we're going to preview and talk about the playoff races in the AFC and technically the NFC, even though it's not as much fun to look at what's going to happen in the NFC. That's pretty much almost secured itself. The AFC has definitely got a lot of teams vying for a couple spots, so we're going to talk with the three of us. So everybody enjoy your weekends. Good luck to you in your fantasy matchups, and we will see you guys again on Tuesday.